But I think that broadly speaking, the success of the ArtScroll Siddur may be connected with a more general phenomenon, the weakening of the forces of modern orthodoxy in North America in the last decades of the 20th century and the first decade of the 21st. It is part and parcel of a whole set of developments that have been noticed by a number of observers, a number of participants, and a number of participant observers of North American Orthodoxy who sense a general shift of the Yeshiva University / Rabbinical Council of America world to positions that are now closer to those of the Haredi world. Chaim Waxman wrote about this phenomenon already in 1998 in his essay, The Haredization of American Orthodox Jewry. Due to time constraints, I will list developments as I see them only in point form. Point number one, the shift of Yeshiva University to the religious right to a position where it in many ways espouses a chardal, a Haredi Leumi worldview. For example, for many years it was compulsory for smicha students at Yeshiva University to earn an MA degree. In recent decades, the policy has been changed, and a period of kollel study can be substituted for an MA. The statistics are not made public, and despite my efforts, I was not able to obtain such statistics, but informants tell me that a very large share of YU smicha students have opted for the kollel model over the academic model. I see fewer and fewer YU smicha graduates these days who believe in the value of secular knowledge, especially knowledge of the humanities and social sciences. Rabbi Herschel Schachter was quoted in the most recent English language edition of Mishpacha magazine as saying that Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik encouraged people to pursue graduate studies in order to earn a living. But Rabbi Schachter said that had Rabbi Soloveitchik seen the efflorescence of kollelim today, he would not have been so emphatic about the need for graduate study. The attempts, factor number two, the attempts of rabbis in the YU-RCA orbit to live up to the standards of Haredim in many halachic areas. Perhaps the strongest and most contentious example of this is what the RCA has dubbed its GPS system, Gerut Procedures and Standards, adopted by the RCA in 2008. Essentially, the RCA has asked its members to use a specific definition of conversion standards that was, allegedly, approved by the Haredi circles that run the Israeli chief rabbinate. The story on that keeps changing from week to week about what kind of approval there actually was for this. It must be emphasized that these conversion standards are not the standards used in Israel today by rabbis such as Rabbanei Zohar, a group of over 1,000 national religious rabbis in Israel who, in their own words, promote, quote, an ethical and sensitive and non-coercive approach to issues of Jewish identity and practice, unquote. Those rabbis feel no need to establish their religious bona fides by adopting the standards of the chief rabbinate in their own country. But the RCA here in North America has opted to legislate such standards for its members. In late-breaking news, I just read yesterday that in my nation's capital, in Ottawa, Rabbi Reuven Bolka declared yesterday that there is no longer any Orthodox conversion going on in Ottawa. All candidates will be sent to Montreal because he doesn't want to be converting people who aren't going to be accepted in Israel. There are too many questions about standards. And he admitted there that he's not sure that anybody who gets converted in Montreal will be accepted either. Third factor, along with adopting more stringent standards for conversion, for the first time in my memory, voices are heard now within the RCA that are willing to consider converts converted by other Orthodox rabbis, for example, local Orthodox rabbis who do not follow the RCA conversion standards, or Rabbanei Zohar in Israel, as not Jewish even after the fact. A few RCA members have told me that if a not fully Shomer Shabbat convert converted in, let's say, for example, in Israel by Rabbi Chaim Druckmann, a very knowledgeable and respected Israeli Rosh Yeshiva who takes a lenient approaches to many conversion questions. If a non-fully Shomer Shabbat convert from Rabbi Druckmann were to show up in their synagogue here in North America, they wouldn't give him an aliyah, they wouldn't count him in a minyan, or extend to him any of the other privileges of a Jew until and unless that convert upgraded his conversion to something more akin to the RCA standards. It used to be the case that only in Haredi circles, and actually in only a small subset of Haredi circles, would we find the phenomenon of one Orthodox rabbi declaring another Orthodox rabbi's convert and a Rosh Yeshiva to be a Gentile after the fact. it is hard to overemphasize how significant this turn of events may become for Orthodoxy in America. In my estimation, there must be thousands and probably tens of thousands of Orthodox converts and descendants of female Orthodox converts whose status as Jews can now be challenged as the conversions were done at a standard below the current standard of the RCA. The problem is particularly acute when it comes to adopted children. The new RCA standards for allowing the conversion of an adopted child are much more stringent than those that were in force until recently throughout much of North America. The logical extension of the RCA conversion policy is that many converts with Orthodox conversions from a generation ago must worry that their Jewish bona fides and or their children's Jewish bona fides may yet be challenged. Factor number 4, the fact that so many newly ordained Orthodox rabbis in North America these days are trained that they should not rule on any but the most obvious halachic questions, but should always consult the Rosh Yeshiva for psak halacha. Again, this situation differs greatly from what we find in Israel, where more and more psak halacha by more and more community rabbis is being circulated, even on the web. Factor number 5, the demise of modern Orthodox institutions in some places. In Toronto, where I live, there used to be a functioning group called the Rabbinical Council of Canada, which was simply the local branch of the RCA. A little more than 20 years ago, that group disbanded. Its members made common cause with the local Haredi rabbis in a body called the Vad HaRabbonim of Toronto. There, RCA rabbis and Haredim are theoretically equal partners, but of course that means that all standards related to conversion or kashrut or any other issues are Haredi standards. The conversion standards of the Vad in Toronto have been similar to or perhaps to the right of the new RCA standards for many years now, leading to a situation where far fewer Orthodox conversions take place in Toronto than was the case a few decades ago, despite the amazing growth of the size of the community in Toronto. Factor number 6, the general shift of RCA membership to include more and more Haredi or semi-Haredi members who have ordinations from institutions to the right of Yeshiva University, including a number of Chabadniks. At the same time, membership in the RCA is routinely denied to people who receive Orthodox ordinations from institutions to the left of Yeshiva University. More on those institutions soon. And factor number 7, the virtual abandonment of college campuses to Haredi rabbis. Around 10 years ago, I heard Rabbi Avi Wise claim, the statistics might be off, and I couldn't get precise ones. I heard him claim that there were 200 college campuses in North America where there was a full-time Chabad rabbi working with the students, and around 5 campuses where a rabbi who would call himself Modern Orthodox was working in a similar capacity. The statistics on this issue have changed in the last decade, as we will discuss later. In short, bearing all this in mind, what happened when the RCA partnered with ArtScroll to produce a Siddur should surprise no one. The RCA ArtScroll Siddur differed from the standard ArtScroll Siddur in only a few tiny ways. It had a short 4-page introduction by Rabbi Saul Berman that mentioned the name of Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik. Rabbi Berman has told me that this is the only mention of Rabbi Soloveitchik's name in any ArtScroll publication. And also the inclusion of the prayer for the state of Israel and a prayer for living Israeli soldiers and a Yizkor prayer for fallen Israeli soldiers. The RCA ArtScroll Siddur may epitomize what some people aspire to in so-called centrist Orthodox circles in North America today: Haredi values plus the state of Israel plus deference to the late Rabbi Soloveitchik. But this is not